As always, it's a pleasure to have both Melissa, a CPO now of Eyewear Gallery, and Dr. Warren Johnson with us today. First of all, just how aware are parents of the importance of their children wearing eye protection when their children are playing recreational or competitive sports?
I would say that, in the kids that I examine when they come in the office, it's really important because most of them, they don't want to wear something that's protective to their eyes, and that really means a type of material in the lens that's impact resistant should something hit them in the face or a finger be poked towards their eye. But that is something that really we have to educate the parent about more, so they will then encourage their child, even though Johnny may not want to wear those glasses for lacrosse or basketball or football, that he needs some type of protection. And sometimes they're limited given the type of helmets that they wear, but it's important that they know that because many times they'll come in and just say, well, he can just wear contacts, and contacts aren't going to protect their eyes. So it's important we get this message out so parents can understand, who are bringing in patients, those being their children, would understand that it's important to have some type of safety protective eyewear. Now, what we find is that young kids tend to be more amenable to that is if they get to wear sunglasses and something that kind of curves around their face, because then it's cool and something they can wear after the ball game.
Melissa, did you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, parents understand that the kids need knee pads and elbow pads and helmets and things like that. But I just don't know if they always understand how important it is that they have protective eyewear, just as important as their helmets and their knee pads, as a protective eyewear. Because if, like Dr. Johnson was saying, if they were to, a ball were to, come towards their face or to, any type of projectile or a finger or an elbow, it can be just as damaging, if not more so, than a head injury. And I just think that, a lot of parents overlook the importance of eyewear as safety equipment as well.
Dr. Johnson, you've touched on this before, but if you could you go into detail about the types of protective eyewear that can be worn during team and contact sports?
They're, goggles. You might have seen some of the professional basketball players wear that are kind of a wrap around type of frame. Those can be clear lenses. Those are really protective, so it's the material that the frame is made out of as well as the material the lenses are made out of. And that's something that, because we have our own lab on site, that we study which types of lenses in the sport and what's the best configuration to come up with for the kid, and something that we know the kid will wear and something that the parent feels comfortable with. So it's more than telling the kid. It's kind of a combo with the parent and the kid to help them understand that. And those are the types of frames. Usually it's something that's a type of, we call it a wrap coverage, that kind of covers completely their eye from brow bone to cheekbone and around the side of their head, that fits their head. And the big thing is something that doesn't fall off their face, something that kind of grabs their face. So we have some frames that have kind of rubber tip sides to them that really hug your head and don't move even when you're sweating, which everybody's going to do when they're playing a sport.
And these are going to be available in prescription as well as non-prescription.
Yeah, that's a real good point.
So kids that do wear prescription glasses can also get their sports goggles in their prescription so that they can be just as effective, with their vision, with their goggles on, so it doesn't inhibit their vision at all. But also for kids that don't wear prescription glasses, we have the protection aspect of it.
The parent may be very aware of the importance of the child wearing the safety gear, but how important is it for the parent to remind the child of the importance of wearing the safety gear?
Well, I think it's really important, but parents have a lot to keep up with, so, did you remember your shoulder pads or your helmet or your stick or your gloves or things like that? And, oh, yeah, they're glasses. Now, obviously, they know that if they can't see, they need glasses, and that was one of the points we were going to touch on, which you may touch on later, but not their regular glasses, which unfortunately a lot of kids do wear, but that should be in their bag. They should just kind of have that at the ready, just like the rest of the gear that they're going to take. The only way that's going to happen is if the parent is made aware of that.
Yeah, and we find it easier too if the glasses are kind of kept with the rest of the gear. It's just part of the rest of your gear. You have your helmet, you have your cleats, you have your pads, and you have your your safety glasses right with everything else, and it just becomes a part of the uniform. And then the kids don't really question it, and they think it's pretty cool.
Now let's get to something that I found quite interesting. Do you believe that actually wearing this protective eyewear might actually help children overcome their fear of an eye or face injury while playing sports?
Oh, yes. We'll see kids, and I know growing up, the old BB shot to the eye or fishing hook or something like that, where those aren't necessarily sports. That's recreation and some tantalizing type of activities. But anyway, sports are the same. And so, if something becomes projectile towards the eyes, then that's something that is going to keep that from damaging the front of their eye. So that is the cornea, the windshield of the eye that can get scratched, and that is with extremely blunt trauma force, potentially causing a tear or detachment of the back of the lining of the eye called the retina, and that's real serious. So both are real serious. So it helps protect from an impact blow, damage in terms of a tear or even like a bone fracture, as well as any kind of corneal scratches.
And this is really a generic issue, but of course it can relate to a child's performance in a particular sport. But what is the importance of scheduling regular eye exams with an optometrist?
In other discussions I know we've had with you in interviews, the importance is, and what we like to leave people with, is the health of their eyes. Is the front of their eye healthy? Is the back of their eye healthy? It's checking to make sure their eyes move in all different directions, which is a big, important part of mobility in sports. Eye teaming, eye tracking, to be able to see the ball or where they need to be able to move in directions. So we're measuring all those kinds of things. We're measuring to see if one eye doesn't work as well as the other. So all this is tied into the eye exam, where most people think that the eye exam equals a pair of glasses or get him some contacts because he's going to play basketball or her, and glasses are just going to fall off her face, and that's true. So we try to educate them about the importance of what type of wear, if they need any wear or prescription in it. As Melissa said, prescription and or non-prescription are available. But the importance is that we want to ward off sight-threatening problems that they can't detect, and most people's understanding is nothing about that. It's mainly about whether or not they think they need glasses or they can't see. So whether they play sports or whether they don't play sports, the importance of their yearly exam is just that, very important. And that's the way we take digital images or photographs of the back of their eye, and that way when the parent's in the room with them, they can see what we're talking about. Otherwise, they just know, well, can he see or can't he see? Well, does he see 20/20? I mean, those are the questions most people know to ask. And so when we have something that's tangible for them to see, feel, touch, and we can kind of show them what we're talking about and how that relates to their eye muscle movements, and we show them how their eyes are working and lining up together, then they get it. Then they start to understand.
Dr. Johnson, you've touched on this before, but could you talk about the inadequacies of conventional frames and lenses when it comes to protecting the eyes, when it comes to contact sports?
Yeah, Melissa can tell you too from the kids that she sees when they come in, but there, different types of frames, metal frames can kind of cut, if there's much impact.
There are frames that are specifically made that are impact resistant, as well as lens material. We always put kids in the safety lens material, whether they're playing sports or not. But especially for a sports pair of glasses, you definitely want to have those be impact resistant, as well as the frame and the lenses, because if the lenses were to shatter, it could injure the eye more than the impact itself. So we definitely want to make sure that we're not wearing our regular glasses. for our sports, because they're just not intended for that impact.
And I think, also kind of what she's saying, too, is the type of frame material. It's usually more of an acetate or semi-type of plastic type of material that kind of gives more based on impact. And the lenses that we're speaking of here, should some child be hit in the face with an object, these safety impact-resistant lenses, instead of becoming projectile towards an eye like a normal pair of glasses that would be the case if they got hit in the eye. But these lenses, fragment and they fall down out of the frame, so they don't go in towards the eye. They just fall out of the pair of glasses. So that's why it's important that they be impact-resistant.
How can an optometrist with expertise in sports vision, properly assess a person's unique visual system and recommend the proper eyeglasses or contact lenses, and really recommend what somebody should actually wear when it comes to playing a particular sport?
You have to really talk to the parent, and you want to talk to the child. You want to see what their visual need is. You want to see if they're needing correction, how do they see every day? Is it glasses? Is it contact lenses? How many hours a week, a day are they playing this particular sport that could be injurious to their vision? And then I think from that you determine what's the best plan of action. So it may be that the child is going to want to wear contacts. So they wear contacts part of the day at school, or maybe too much. And so we always have to counsel on that too in terms of damage to the front of the eyes. And so if they just are insistent on wearing contact lenses, then we're still going to recommend some type of eye safety protection frame over the contact lenses, even if it has no prescription in it. So that would still give them protection. And then again, we're making sure that if a child is lazy eye, and people confuse lazy eye with an eye that turns out. A lazy eye can be an eye that just doesn't see, and even with best given correction in glasses or contact lenses, cannot be corrected to a 20/20 level of vision. So what happens is the kid ends up ignoring the vision from that eye, not intentionally, but his brain ends up ignoring the vision from that eye because the brain receives two images, one from the right eye, one from the left eye. And those two images should overlap if the eye muscles line up together. And so if there's a blurred image that really can't be used by the brain suppresses the vision in that eye. So eye teaming, tracking skills, ability to see out of eyes by measurements, and best correction to see to what level they are able to see is all very important to tell the child. We had a young man in yesterday, in fact, and he had what's called a congenital cataract. That means he was born with it. So he cannot see very well out of one eye, and he plays football. So, we're there to inform him of that, make him aware of that. He knew he didn't. He didn't really know why. So when we use our microscopes and we look in the eye, that's something we can see because it is keeping light from passing back to the back of the eye. Does that mean that eye isn't healthy? No. His eye's healthy, it just has the cataract blocking light. So he's ended up having to use one eye, which then gives him no depth perception because the brain's just using one of the two pictures, one of the eye's pictures that it receives. So measuring all of these things is important to determine if they're safe playing a given sport, if they're safe to start driving a car. Should there be limitations as to daytime, nighttime activities or sports or driving? But those are all the things that it's like every patient is a new puzzle. No puzzle's the same, and they don't even know they have pieces. So we have to find out what those pieces are and put them together in a customized package for their understanding so they can then know how to act on it. We can't make them do what we suggest, but at least our responsibility is that we give them that information, and with that information, with the parent and the kid, that they come up with a plan of action based on our recommendations.
Dr. Johnson, in the past, we talked about sunglasses with appropriate UV protection. So what about the importance of UV safety for outdoor sports?
Yeah,
you got kids.
Yeah, definitely. We always talk about the importance of UV protection whenever anybody's going to be outdoors for more than 10-15 minutes. You want to have good brow bone to cheekbone wrap coverage. And the same thing applies to kids playing outdoor sports, outdoor soccer, football, things like this, lacrosse, field hockey, all these things that are going to be played outdoors definitely need to have the same UV protection that you would have on the beach or at the park. It's just as important while they're playing their sports, even if they have a helmet on. And there are certain sports classes that are intended to be worn with helmets, so they fit with helmets as well. So we don't want to hear that excuse that they can't wear glasses with their helmets because we want to make sure that they're being protected, their heads as well as their vision and their eyes.
And sometimes, like Melissa said, we'll still hear that from the parent. Oh, well, that lacrosse mask, the way they wear that just fits this, that, and the other way. So what they need, and the schools should be requiring, because they're really liable for this too in terms of if it's a school-sponsored sport, that they have some type of safety shield built into that mask wear, and then that's something that and we find that most of them don't.
Right.
They just say, well, let's just close their face. Is there anything blocking that? Like you would see, hockey players, have the bars so close nothing can get through those, but lacrosse players don't. That always concerns them. They'll tell me, I feel like, what can I have them do? Their team is providing these helmets that don't provide, some type of impact-resistant lens protection in front of their eyes.
To wrap things up, can you talk about Eyewear Gallery and their free sports vision screenings for kids, and also talk about where Eyewear Gallery is physically located, the phone number, and the website?
Okay, so for the month of September, we will be holding free sports vision screenings for kids between the ages of 6 and 17, and folks can give us a call to schedule that. We'll be doing that on Fridays. And they can give us a call at 901-763-2020. And, of course, we are located at the corner of Perkins Extended near Poplar, 428 Perkins Extended, Memphis 38117. And our website is eyeweargallery.com.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Melissa Moore, who is CPO, and Dr. Warren Johnson, a medical optometrist with Eyewear Gallery here in Memphis. This is Eye on Vision.